Hi, Sandy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Welcome to the ADK Rock and Metal channel, and today we are doing a random discussion by using our random discussion generator. We have done a few of these today. So what happens is we press the button, the generator generates a discussion topic for us. If it lands on one we've already discussed, we will hit the button again. If it lands for some reason in a blank space in between the topics, then we will hit it again until we find one we have not done. So without further ado, let's hit the discussion generator.
Can I do the others?
You may. You have to wait for it to fucking start scrolling.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Right.
Now you can. Okay, so we are discussing today when a band replaces all original, which I fucking spelt wrong as well, mistyped it.
Yep. You have to correct that.
I'll correct that one. When when a band replaces all original forming members of a band, should they have to change their name?
We've done this. Napalm Death.
We had that with Napalm Death. No, but there was a criteria, and we did this on a video that no one...
Sepultura, I think we brought it up with that. Should Sepultura have changed the name when Max left? That was one of the examples, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we still had, obviously, the key criteria. Now, we've never actually had this
all
as
original.
an actual... We've never had it as a full discussion topic.
Right.
We did discuss this about 2 years ago as part of our monthly discussions when we did it at the pub that time in Hitchin.
Mm-hmm.
We had a kind of conversation about it, but I thought it would be interesting because we have, so there are a lot of bands that don't have original members, like, so you've got what we got from classics, you've got things like bands like Jethro Tull, you've got Lynyrd Skynyrd, etc.
That one's obvious.
Probably Journey and stuff like that, and probably now changed so much now, but you've got Sepultura is a good example now because obviously the Paulo Jr. and Andreas Kisser were not there for the very, very beginning, but they were there from maybe I think Paulo was in there from, wasn't he, from Morbid Visions?
Yeah, Morbid Visions, I think, yeah.
So we have got, but what is the criteria? Where would you say the point of, because like Ginger, so that there's no original members.
Technically, you're right. Yeah, they did play on the first EP, two of them, but they weren't founding members.
No.
Yeah.
So if you imagine if a bunch of people form a band, they come up with the name, title, and then slowly but surely over a course of a couple of years, different members are changed. Then it's a completely different band that came up with the concept of the name. So should they have to change their name?
Yeah, you wonder if they're keeping the name because they've already got recognition.
So that's the question.
Already got a fan base.
So what point? Yeah. There must be a criteria that means that you should have to change your name, or you can't.
I disagree with the question. I don't think so, because it's not as if it's a lock, stock and barrel change. There is some continuation, and there are members who are going to be carrying the legacy of that band forward, even if they're not originals. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, there are examples.
So In Flames is another example.
Yeah, there are examples where there's no original members, but there are established members who may have, taken this band on its journey through ups and downs and a number of albums or whatever, and if they happen to leave and be replaced by somebody else, it's still continuing that entity of the band, isn't it?
So is it a case that if a band has, even if it's an original band, let's say they're further established, but the band forms for a couple of years, they're doing demos and stuff like that, and then there's a pretty much, over that period of 2 years while they're doing demos, the band pretty much from the original all gets replaced, and then they release an album. Should they have changed the name before they released that first album? Or is it a case that once you've put out something into the public domain as an official release, then doesn't matter after that point, anything that changes after that, you keep the name. Is that the bullet point that you have to have released something as that lineup, then you can't change. But if you change your entire band from the time it was conceived before you actually release, you should change your name.
Yes, I think so. I mean,
it's the concept, isn't it?
Why you was talking there, to sort of back up my argument, if it will never happen anyway, and they would call it a day if it does. But let's say, for example, Steve Harris decided he didn't want to do Iron Maiden 10 years ago, and they brought in a new bass player. Iron Maiden, as it stands, with Bruce Dickinson, Adrian Smith, Nico McBrain, Dave Murray, Yannick Gers, unfortunately, if they were to carry on with a new bass player, it'd still be Iron Maiden. It'd still have the same appeal from the millions of fans around the world. So they should have to change the name just because the founding member and only original member Steve Harris is no longer involved. I mean, he'd probably give them their blessing. I mean, this is just a hypothetical, imaginary scenario that will never happen anyway. But yeah, your point about if there's no original members left at the time when the very first release comes out, then I think perhaps you need to look at, let's change the name of this particular project.
Because here's another example of where this, even if one original member is remaining, we'll use the Guns N' Roses idea. So obviously Axl Rose had the ownership of Guns N' Roses name.
Okay.
So when the band basically fell apart and everyone fucking quit and went off to do their own thing, Axl Rose owned Guns N' Roses, so he decided to hire a load of people in and release a new album, Chinese Democracy, eventually after about 10 years, whatever it took him to do it. But it had none of the other members apart from Axl Rose doing vocals on it and released it as a Guns N' Roses album. And the challenge there was, well, yeah, he owned the right to the album, but it wasn't a Guns N' Roses album because there were no other members on there. But he could say, well, he just hired replacements and got them to write, and it's still a Guns N' Roses album in that case.
Rather than Axl Rose releasing it as an Axl Rose album or a completely different band name, he's pulling on the legacy and history of an appeal of Guns N' Roses. That's an obvious one, isn't it, why he's done that?
Yeah, but is it a Guns N' Roses? Should he have released that? So I think a lot of people have said he should have not done it as a Guns N' Roses album, released it as an Axl Rose album with all the hired guns he has, because you can hire all the guys he wants, and he hired so many people to come in and write parts and stuff like that, but there was no cohesive band. And we all know that there is an element of being in a band is, yes, it's the writing and the music element, but it's the chemistry you have with the people you work with. And if you don't have chemistry with the people you work with, then the band doesn't survive, and it's very difficult. If you're lucky enough, like we are in Tellers, where we have good chemistry in the band, we can write, we can work on stuff, and you can ride the roller coaster of emotions, etc. Now, I just don't know if I mean, I pretty much knew what my answer was going to be, or my thought was which is like, once you've started putting music out into the public domain, you can't really. I mean, what we had? Quiet Riot. That's another one that's done. So we've now got on Queensryche. We've got multiple versions of the same band.
Even Venom.
Because they start arguing Venom and Venom Inc. and stuff. So where members of the band go, fuck it, I'm going to use the name, and we're going to go out and we're going to tour the same
Climax
songs.
is another one. Yeah.
And you start to see the same Skid Row, and then you've got Sebastian Bach going out and doing his own version, effectively, because he just basically plays mainly Skid Row songs from his time. So the challenge then becomes whether what are you actually getting is the name just a commercial property that you're selling, or is there actually still a band? Should you be allowed to use it? With the Queensryche one, you've got two different groups going out under the same, effectively, the title. The Quiet Riot one was a really interesting one, because we had them over here with Riot, whatever it was called. Riot Act, because there was one person that played on like one album of Quiet Riot, and so he's out doing that album.
Yeah, which is a similar name, but he was piggybacking the success of that one Quiet Riot album that he was involved in. Which should he have been even allowed to do? I mean, you can, I suppose, and it's a way of doing it, but it's it's a choice he's made as an artist, isn't it?
Yeah, two angles on a trade-off I would look at. Can the remaining members afford to start from scratch? When you've already got an established fan base, you're taking a risk because it might alienate them, and then they might start thinking you are not the band that we know and love. The second one, though, is there an element of absurdity, and therefore should we start again? And I'll give you an example. I wrestled a bear once, so that mathcore metal.
Yeah, we're talking about rock and metal. What are you on about?
So that Century Media mathcore metalcore band, I wrestled a bear once. They end up with Courtney.
What a fucking stupid name!
Have you not heard of this band?
No, there's a fucking reason, because it's a stupid fucking name.
By the way, there are no spaces either in between the words, so it's even harder to read. So they end up with Courtney LaPlante on vocals, who's now in Spirit Box, and her husband. And the founder of that band decided on their last album he couldn't go on tour because he just got a new job. So
rock and roll.
Courtney LaPlante and
pipe fitter
Mike Stringer, her husband, none of them are family members. They're touring I Wrestled a Bear Once, who are a big concern of Century Media, quite a popular band. And one day they just think, why are we doing this? This isn't even our band. And then they stop, and then they form Spirit Box, and the rest is history.
I'm sure it wasn't just because why are we doing this? Because the no original members. What a shit name.
What a fucking shit name. Let's call it Spirit Box. It's a bit better. It ain't great, but it's a bit better than fucking I Wrestle a Bear.
What we need to do is we will listen to an I Wrestle a Bear. But no, there was an element of absurdity, because I saw Courtney on the Craig Reynolds podcast, The Downbeat, and she said, yeah, it just got to a point where we looked at each other, was like, this isn't even our band. Why are we doing this? Why are we losing money taking this on the road to Europe because the founding member has got a new job, has decided he can't take his band on the road because she wasn't the original vocalist. So that makes sense at that point. The element of absurdity, this isn't our back catalogue. What is in it for us? Is there even a fan base here now because this band is falling apart? So they were never looking at it from the first perspective. Can we start again? It made sense for them to do that because they would be writing those songs and they would be responsible creatively for that. But yeah, Napalm Death's the best example of this, isn't it? Where
they're the ones that, because I don't know anything of the early stuff. I only know the lineup after it became popular.
And Barney and Shane are very popular members, and people just assume they're founding members, don't they?
I mean, it was one of the ones. It was actually something you just said there, which made me. It was interesting when I was talking to Anna Shellberg from Drain SDH.
Yeah.
And I was talking about when Maria, the vocalist, left. Obviously, who's partner of Tony Iommi. And then she just decided that she didn't want to do it anymore. She didn't want to be on the road, wanted to be with Tony, etc. So she left, and they went through the stage of. I asked the question, like, so did you consider getting another vocalist in? And she said, well, it was obviously something we thought about, and then we were like, it wouldn't be the same band. Mm-hmm. So, and actually, and then when Flavia, the guitarist, decided that she was thinking about like going off and doing another project at that point, they were like, well, could we get a guitarist in and get a new vocalist? But then they were just sitting there going, this just wouldn't be the same act. We could call ourselves Drain STH, but it wouldn't be. So the drummer and the bass player went off and started a brand new band, and they didn't do any reference to Drain. They just went off and started a completely new act and started going off in another route.
Was that the right thing to do, in your opinion? Because that will answer this question.
In my opinion, it was. And I think there is... The hardest decision is you can replace bass players, guitarists, drummers, not a problem in a band, and the band will always be known as that band. You change your vocalist in your band, that's your biggest problem.
Harris and James, they came back, didn't they? He's a good vocalist.
But you had to find the right person that can do it. And what you had, because your front person is always the person that everyone recognises tonality, whether it's the female vocal, whether it's the male vocal. And if you get a vocalist that either sounds exactly the same, so let's go down the route of Fear Factory.
Yeah.
It's a good example of that. So obviously, no more Bernsey Bell. We've got this other guy that's come in, Milo, who's come in. Great vocalist.
Fantastic vocalist.
Can do the Bernsey Bell. And
he's actually better than Bernsey Bell.
He is. He's actually got much better,
isn't he?
And he's better at the Bernsey Bell. And so they've done the right thing. Now they could have gone in any other direction, but the question they now look at when they look at Fear Factory is a lot of people love it because they sound better than they've sounded in years. But a lot of people will look at it and go, but it's only Dino that's in the band.
Yeah. So
it's the Dino project, because actually you've got Tony from Static X and Prong and everything else filling in on bass, who's doing bass for them. And literally he's now just put it out there because Tony's tied up doing Prong, he's doing Static X tour. He can't do the Fear Factory tour, so they're going to have to get another bass player in to fill for the Fear Factory tour.
But
so it's a revolving banner thing. So should Dino be able to be called it Fear Factory?
He's an original member because there's still one left. The question is,
well, he was out of the band for a long period of time.
Yeah, he was.
I think he can carry on and play and promote and tour as Fear Factory, even if he's got multiple member changes going on for whatever reason.
Yeah, Prong.
He wasn't original, but then he was kicked out for about 10 years or something like that, wasn't he?
4 years, I think.
4 years or something. Yeah. He was picked out for a couple of different albums and then came back into the fold.
There are
something about it that does when you start talking about bands and people leaving and finding the right replacement that enables you to do it. Iron Maiden's another good example with Blaze Bayley coming in.
Poor Blaze, never had a chance.
No need to change the name though, because you've still got the core of the original lineup. That's what his question is.
I mean, it is from that point. They shouldn't have had to change the name, but it does make you kind of question certain band decisions at certain points about when they should continue. Should Iron Maiden have carried on with Blaze for a while, or just taken a big break?
I mean, can you imagine if Nirvana had continued?
Well, Virus is a good album. X Factor's actually a good album.
I love the Blaze Bayley albums. I think they're really good.
He's a shit singer,
just
in my
never
opinion.
given a chance.
But he did a good job for that.
He's no Bruce Dickinson, but I'd like what he did on those albums.
He's better in Wolfsbane.
Never heard
I
Wolfsbane.
remember the
Wolfsbane actually he is in the style that he can sing. The problem you've got is with Blaze Bailey. We're going to a different topic now, but Blaze Bailey has not got the range of Bruce Dickinson's. He couldn't do the high ends. Every time he tried, he fucking blew his voice.
Do you know apart from
do it.
Napalm Death and you could argue Ginger, can you think of any other bands where there are no original members that have continued? I Wrestle the Bones, the one which is just quite you
In
up.
Flames.
Is there no original member?
No, they've all gone now, from my understanding.
Right, okay.
But there's no
Very
reason.
first, because then they went off to do. So some of those guys have gone off and done Halo Effect now.
Yeah.
Some went off to do Dark Tranquility.
So, yeah, I'm just
Dark
trying to
Tranquility is very good actually.
think they are for a Melodeath band.
But yeah, but you listen to In Flames on their early stuff and you listen to them now, they're completely different bands. They don't sound anything like the two bands. That's a huge.
Why have they continued? I mean, like they've got.
They could have easily changed names at some point, but they had the following. But then, I guess once you've built up a brand, it is a brand name. You don't change midway through a brand.
It's almost like a business entity, isn't it?
So the answer to this is basically, if you haven't released any materials, then you really should change your name. I think.
I agree with what you stated.
But if you put an album out, then you stick to it.
I don't think there should be any rules. I know we're only asking for an opinion on this. You don't want to limit the operations of any artist. You can and cannot do this, etc. I think there are too few examples. And Napalm Death, it didn't hold them back, did it?
No. There we go. Well, there's a very unanswered question there,
Yeah.
but generally we think you don't have to. But let us know what you think in the comments down below. Now, if you enjoyed our video today, please do like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on our video sometime very soon. Take care.